There's one question, Grapes. What happened to the Leafs in Game 7?
I don't know. I just couldn't believe they shot their bolt in the 2-0 game. You know, the game before. I don't know. It's beyond me that the Leafs would play that way.
Yeah. And I think if you ask Berube what happened, he'd say the same thing.
He'd say the same thing. Just unbelievable that they come out that way in the 7th game. But let's give Florida a little credit too. They come out banging and smashing and
when they asked I don't know if it was Kachuk or if it was Marchand, but he goes, we look at every series as it's going to be 7 games and we're going to wear you down by the 7th game. And that's what they seem to do with them.
Boy, the 7th game, it wasn't even a contest.
The funny thing is, you look at what they're doing to Carolina, it'll be a sweep.
Yeah.
And the Leafs took them to 7 games.
Yeah. What happened is that the Leafs are in a tough division. They're in a tough division. And to get out of it, they got to go through the...
Well, you either got to go through Tampa or you got to go through Florida, and, before this year, Boston. Yeah. They're all teams that went deep, right? They were all the same type of team when they were at their height. Tampa was kind of like Florida.
Yeah.
And at Boston's height was kind of like at Florida. Yeah. And the Leafs just had a tough, if the Leafs got by Florida, I think they'd be dismantling Carolina. Do you think that, they run into Florida twice? Florida's, it looks like they're going to go to the finals anyway. I don't know if they'll win the cup, but they'll go to the finals. Do you just think the Leaf fans and the media are panicking too much? And you just say, look. They
don't give them credit for the teams they run into. And they've run into some pretty good teams.
Right. I mean, the one time they got beat out by Montreal. Carey Price was
unbelievable,
out of his mind. And now you're running into Bobrovsky, who was playing at his best. They run into Tampa. Vasilevsky was playing at his best.
Yeah.
And Stamkos was a 50-goal scorer. They just do run into tough teams.
They run into tough teams.
Who is going to beat Florida?
Nobody's going to beat Florida.
No, but nobody's going to beat Florida. Right, and so I just think the Leafs fans and stuff, they're panicking.
I saw 20 hits last night there, and they just grind you down. The Panthers just grind you down.
Stephen A, not that one from X says, I get that Stephen A, not the Stephen A on the basketball guy. Should the Leafs let Marner walk or should they sign him?
They should sign him. There's a lot of teams that want him.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I think that they should sign him and keep him because him and Matthews are best friends.
Yeah.
I would trade Willie from the Leafs, and then, I don't like Matthew Nyes, and I would sign and trade Nyes.
Well,
I don't like Nyes, Dad. I'll tell you why.
Why?
So it was Game 5 of the Leafs, remember, at home, and they're getting beat 5-0, right?
Yeah.
And they're down 4 goals in the 3rd period. They're not going to get 5 goals.
They're not going
to win.
No.
So here's a young guy. He's 22, 23 years old. He's not a kid anymore. He's a man. American. Big 6'2". What is he? 6'2". He's supposed to be the big power forward. He did nothing. He could have said, I'm going to go down swinging, and I'm going to drag these guys into the battle. He could have went after, somebody on the team, and he did nothing. And I look and I go, that's not the mentality that you're going to win with.
No.
You always say when a crusher thinks he's a rusher, he soon becomes an usher.
Yeah. I used to say that all the time.
Okay, Dad, our next question comes from 67 Cup. 67. I guess that's the last time the Leafs won the Cup. Hey, Don, love the podcast. Should the Leafs try and trade Nylander? He seems to have 1 good game and then 2 bad games.
I would trade Nylander.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. It's sad to see a talent like that. He should dominate every game.
He should.
He should.
Yeah, you know, Dad, I got to ask you a question. After the game, Marner comes out and says we had too many passengers in Game 7. And then Matthews came out and said the same thing. They had too many passengers.
Well, I mean, who were the passengers?
That would be my first question if I was a reporter.
Yeah.
Was who were the passengers?
Yeah.
I think they were talking about Nylander. I think there's something in the dressing room between the three of those guys. That's my thing. Like, because who else is a passenger?
Yeah. I have no idea who the passenger is. The only thing I can think of is Nylander.
Right. And, you know, you think somebody would ask Berube that. Say, hey, your two top stars have said there was too many passengers. Berube would have said, yeah, including the two guys that said it. Mm-hmm. But you would say, who do you think they're talking about? Like, to me, that was a question that should have been asked.
And I think it was Nylander. I really do believe it was Nylander.